Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the final Ask the Experts of 2025. You've got myself, Richard, here, and with me,
Matthew Ringsell. I am the technical product lead here at Tiger.
So today we're going to do a review really of 2025. We're going to look at some new features. We're also going to give you a little bit of a snippet and insight into what we've got coming up in 2026. So first today, we are going to talk about batch reporting. Now, we're going to do a few slides first, and don't worry, we are going to live demo everyone, but we just wanted to give you a little bit of an insight before we go into live.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for you all taking your time to come and join us this morning. Hopefully, you're going to learn something new about your Tiger Prism system. So we're going to start with the batch reporting. We are going to do live demos of how it works. So batch reporting in a nutshell is, sending the same report to many people within your business, but keeping it in a singular place that keep making it or managing it is much, much easier. So rather than having 1,000 reports to send out, you have a single report which sends 1,000 reports out. So it just makes your life easier setting up these batch reports, and the management becomes much simplified. Okay. So the other part of the topics we're going to be talking about today is we're going to look at some of the Webex calling dashboards, reports, analytics that are now available within Tiger Prism. We're not going to spend a great deal on this. It will be a real high level of, what have we developed? How can we deliver this data from your Webex calling solutions that you have on premise at the moment?
Yeah, and look, I think it's worth, where we're talking about other integrations, obviously everyone knows us for Teams, for telephony, Webex is there, Zoom we also do, and Zoom have just done a lot of changes around the way they deliver the data to customers that want to record it. We've completed all of our updates and everything, a lot of development work gone into that. And so, look, I think what is worth thinking with Prism is it's not just your telephony system or not just your Teams. We can pull all this other data in for you as well.
Yeah.
So you've got that one point of truth where you can see everything for all of your staff within your organisation.
Yeah. So we're just going to go through some of the Microsoft Teams updates that we've done. We'll go through the dashboard enhancements, some new reports that we've added, and we'll briefly go through the analytics view as well that was created all around your Teams queues also. And finally, we will give you some sneak peeks into 2026 and what's coming in Prism. So we're going to, show you some real life demos of what's coming, along with, some what's coming in the pipeline and, how we're going to deliver that for you.
Yeah, and there's, and as always, I think this is the point where it's worth saying, if you've got things you'd like to see in Prism, do contact us, talk to your AM, talk to the customer success team. We are always keen to deliver more functionality for our customers. So if you've got something great idea, get it into us. We will absolutely review it and see if it's something we can include for you.
Yeah. And then finally, what we're going to do and start with here is we've done these Ask the Expert sessions. We've delivered them for you. Where can you actually go back and look at them? Where can you go and get more information about Prism? And how do you share this with your colleagues? So how do I get manuals? How do I understand terminology and so on? And we're also going to look at the widget libraries as well. So
yeah, I think it's worth noting we've recently just done an update to all of the documentation. Look, we're aware that everybody likes consuming support help in different ways. We've got a physical manual that you can take a copy of, print it out, look at it on screen. We're currently producing some training videos, which will be short training videos. They'll be published onto the site soon. Matt mentioned widgets. We're going to show you an example of how to get a widget and load it. But all the Ask the Experts, we've done analytics, reports, dashboards, user management. The list goes on. So if there's something you want to find out more about, there's probably been an Ask the Expert session on it. And look, I think, again, if there's something you want to see us do in Ask the Experts, when we finish this call, you get a survey, and you also get the opportunity to register for the next one in January. Do put in the survey or the registration for the next one. If there's something you specifically want to see, include it for us. We run these for you, our customers, our partners, and we want to make sure the content's what you want to see. Yeah, so Matt.
Absolutely, yeah. And just one other thing, just a quick call out. We also do have a YouTube channel. So if you are somebody that uses YouTube and you want to subscribe to our channel, when we complete all these videos and when they're uploaded, they become available on our YouTube channel, and you can get a notification if you're signed up and subscribed. So keep that in mind as well.
What is it they say in the social media world? Click that bell.
Yeah, click the bell and you'll be updated. So without further ado, let's put this into practice, and let's go and have a look at these things. So this is our Get Started web page. The Get Started web page, the URL is at the top here for anybody that doesn't know. It's tiger.io/get-started. Here, what you have contained on the site is a full user guide. Now, at the bottom, and I'll come to this in a minute, there is the individual parts of this manual, so you don't have to consume the whole manual. There are chunks available. There is a Teams manual here as well available. We have our Teams widgets, and I will come back to this in a second. We have all of the videos that Tiger have made, so we can include in our Ask the Expert sessions. You can come in here and have a look at these.
And the opportunity to register for the January one there as well.
There is training videos, including some, basic training. So there's a half-hour-long video that takes you through the real basics of how to start using Prism.
And I think that's important, because if you've got new people coming in that you're setting up, send them the URL. It will at least entice them into logging into Prism, starting to look at what they can do. It's definitely worth sharing that, particularly to new users.
Yeah, and it really is, basic guide of how to log on, how to click on the buttons, where to go and look for data.
Yeah, how to do a simple query, how to browse to find the report you're looking for. To someone who, a lot of you on this webinar today use Prism, you don't think about it, but if you try and think back to when you were using it for the first time, you didn't know where anything was. So it's a really good video for that, just a familiarization.
Absolutely. And we've also got some documentation around what wording and stuff we use within the product. So, for example, in our flag definitions, when it comes through about transfer or conference, what does it actually mean? So when you've got people that maybe are not from the telephony world, what we've done is create this document that you can pass to them, and it just explains in simple terms what these outcomes mean, what these termination values mean. So when they are on a report and they have been presented to them, they can ingest it by reading about what it means, rather than you having to explain it to them all the time.
Yeah. And look, so it's there. And again, if there's anything else you'd like to see in there, do contact us. We're always adding to this. So just quickly, before you go in to demonstrate adding a widget before we go into live, I think it's also worth just to note that you can raise a case here as well. So this is tiger.io/support. This is on the very rare occasion that something does go wrong or something doesn't look quite right. This is where you come and raise a case with my support team. And the fields there, we've put these fields in to structure it so we get as much information from you as possible the first time. Helps us speed up resolution, so be as detailed as possible. If you've got a file you want to attach, you can pop that on there. And look, if all else fails, our phone number's at the bottom. The support team are always there, 9 to 5:30, Monday to Friday, to pick up your call. Give us a ring. We're quite happy to talk to you on the phone, potentially fix the issue there and then.
Yeah. So keep that in mind. That option is always there for you as well.
So let's have a look at adding a widget then, shall we, Matt?
Yeah. So slightly down on the page here, we have the widgets. So this is what we call our widget library. Our widget library is broken down into two sections, purely on the fact that when you come into the app, they are broken down into slightly different sections. So we have our telephony widgets, we have our Teams widgets. So If you're looking for your telephony side, not your team side, you come into your telephony widgets here, and you would then go and choose a widget from the list. So
just so people understand, what is a widget, Matt? Let's go back to basics on this one.
So a widget is a predefined set of columns and filters and calculations for analytics within Prism. So what we've done is we've built some what we call templates. So what the widget is of how can you import a widget and then go make amendments to show this information. So if we look at, say, the out of hours one here on the screen, so in here it explains what it's going to do. So if you're looking for calls where staff are making calls outside of what you deem your working hours, you can come into your widget here. It then explains what columns are going to be included. There's a sample output on all of the screens. Importantly is the widget text, and I'll come to this in a second, and what modifications you can make to these widgets once you've imported them. Okay, so it just explains here about, you can change the hours, because not every business is 8 to 6, not every business is 9 to 5. You may be working in an industry where it is, slightly different hours, and you need to build it from there. If you've got a contact center that's open 7 to 8, then the widget will still work for you. You just need to make sure that you adjust it. And it may be that we've set this to do weekdays, so it includes Saturdays and Sundays. But your business may be open on a Saturday, so you may want to remove it from there.
Yeah.
And then looking at digits, so numbers that people are calling on during those times, because that's what this is looking at, is who's calling you outside of this. And it's added in some additional columns, to see where was it transferred to. So if it was an out of hours number that someone's ringing in, did it get forwarded on to the out of hours mobile number, and did they deal with it over there? Okay. So how do I take this widget and put it into Prism? Well, we've created this little copy to clipboard at the top here button on each of our widgets, which you simply click on, and it's now in your clipboard. So what you would then do is go into Prism, and you would go into your telephony analytics. If you're in Teams, you'd go into your Teams analytics. From here at the bottom, you've got an import widget option, and then you simply right click in the box and paste and click confirm. What this will then do is what you saw on your screen before is now built on your screen in a way that you can now make amendments. So again, we were talking about if you're looking between calls between 8 and 6, maybe you need to make a change. Maybe it's 9 to 5, 7 to 8. You can make those amendments here. You can choose which days that you work on. So again, you can include Saturdays and Sundays, etc. from here if you want to.
And how are you bringing that box up? You're just clicking on it, right click, normal click?
Just normal left click,
yep.
Just to bring these menu options up. And then you can then say, well, which group am I interested in? So I'm just going to make a slight amendment to this and say, right, any calls to numbers that start with 2. Once you've done that, you then just click the return button, and it will then return the call. So we can see here calls that were on weekdays, out of hours, that came in and went to our main number here. Okay.
So that's great. So I've loaded my widget. Great. I've got the data. Save it.
You can then save it. So you can then save at the top here. So you can save the widget, and you can save it to me, or you can save it to one of your groups that you've created earlier.
And if you save it to me, then only you see it.
Yes,
save
correct.
it to a group. Obviously, you might want colleagues to be able to go and run that widget as well.
Yeah. So if you saved it to, say, the public widgets, everyone would be able to see it. If you saved it to the widget administrator, only people that have access to the widget administrator group would be able to see it.
Yeah.
And then if you've got any custom groups, like we have one at the bottom here, if you saved it to that group, you can then limit people's access to go and see those groups.
I think it's worth noting as well, though, that it doesn't override people's security within Prism. So if they can only see a certain department, when they run this widget, it'll only run against that department. So I think there's a level of safety if you make it public. They can still only see what you've allowed that person to see.
Yeah, and then once you've got your data, you can obviously export it as well if you wish to a CSV or an Excel, or you can schedule it or on the out chance, you can also set it up as an alert as well.
Yeah, and we're not going to show scheduling today,
No.
but we've done a couple of other sessions with that. Go and have a look at one of those if you're not sure how to schedule. But yeah, you can set it to deliver to you daily, weekly, monthly, however often you want, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then what we'll also quickly do is we'll quickly go through one of the Teams ones. Again, it's the same principle of how this works. So you go into your Teams one. Let's have a look through here. So maybe you're looking at calls that go through into the auto attendant. So I'm looking interested. Somebody asked me, I want to know how many calls have gone into my auto attendant. So we have a widget here for this. Again, it's got the modifications in here about choosing which auto attendant you're interested in. And again, it's the same way. You copy to clipboard. You come into Prism, and then you go into your Teams analytics, and you go into your import widget, paste it in here, and click confirm. And again, that will then build it up here. And again, if you want to change your auto attendant name, you can come in here and make the adjustment. And the way it comes down for this is it will then break it down by hour, how many calls went into the auto attendant and which auto attendant you searched for. And then over here, it will then give you how many calls during those hour bins. So between 9 and 10, last month we had 11 calls that went into our auto attendant. The user spent an average of 41 seconds, and there was a total of 7 minutes and 35 seconds in the auto attendant. Okay. So again, just a quick way of doing it. And if you're happy with this, you could then save it and put it wherever you need to.
Schedule it if needed. We just had a quick question come in, Matt.
Sure.
So would transfer call legs display as transfer/conference/consult in call direction column?
No.
I know that's telephony we're back onto, but
No. So what they are is in the analytics windows in here, there is a what we call an initiating and a terminating reason. So the initiating reason is, why did the call come to me? And again, this is really useful. If you go to our Get Started, there is a full document explaining all of the different initiating and terminating reasons, what they are, how they work, and the meanings of them. So normal means it came to my phone normally, somebody picked it up, and normal terminating reasons means it was hung up. Okay.
I think that's a good example though, where you can still use the widget we've just demoed.
Yeah.
Go in and add those fields.
Yeah.
The columns are there. Obviously, you can move that column as well.
Yeah.
You can change the order to where it displays. So look, I mean, we're trying to make life easier for people by building the widgets, but as you've seen, just add the field that you need. There you go.
Absolutely.
The information's there.
And this is what it talks about. Is so the call outcome was it was connected, but it came to the user from a transfer and it left the user. So the terminating reason was they transferred it somewhere else. This one here, for example, it came from a redirect. So what that means is, and again, there is in the documents we showed you earlier, there is a diagram of what a redirect means. So it means that their phone was on forward. So it forwarded on to them, it was redirected. They picked it up. They spoke to someone for 19 seconds. They realized it wasn't them they needed to speak to, so they transferred it on.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't put it in the outcome because the outcome is a definition of what happened. Was the call answered, not answered, and the reason why it wasn't answered. It's these initiating and terminating reasons that are used.
Lovely. Thank you, Matt. So, slightly aside, but linked to analytics, I thought we'll squeeze that one in.
Okay. So if there are widgets here that maybe that you feel that would be useful, again, get in touch with us. Let us know what you want on here, or if there's something you're trying to build and you're not quite sure where you need to go.
Yeah.
Let us know. We can help you with that.
Yeah, if you're trying to do it, someone else probably wants it as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we most months we are adding new widgets into the library. So it's also worth checking back because there might be things that you haven't thought about doing, and actually come and have a browse through the library. You'll see something go, oh, that's interesting. So yeah, but if you want something in there, we'll happily build it and add it to the library for you as well.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Matt. So as we're just moving on again, I mean, that was a really good question. If anyone else has got other questions, do drop them in. As you see, we will try our best to get them covered for you.
Yeah. So the next section we're going to look at is batch reporting. And what is batch reporting? So if I run a report over here and I choose a report, now batch reporting, to be clear, only works on a set of reports. So you would only ever use, say, the departmental call summary or the departmental cost summary, because this is what you're trying to do. You're trying to send out to many departments their stats. So it could be in the management, it could be in the the departmental response report, for example. So if you're looking to send all of your department heads their departmental response report, so if I just generate this for this month, and if we come down to here, I'm just going to do this quickly just so I can get something up on the screen. Let's do it for the whole of Tiger and run that. So what this will do is give me a breakdown of all of our departments here. But what I'm actually interested in doing is that I want to send the support manager their stats, service management their stats, etc., down here. So I want one line to go to one department. Now, there are two ways of doing this. I could set up a report and go, actually, I'm only interested in tick one item, create one report, and then I'm going to end up with 20 reports over here. Or I could create a singular batch report, which then will send out to many people. So how do we do this? So to make life easier, I'm going to use the departmental call summary report up here, and I'm going to click the schedule button at the top here and click confirm. Now you can also, just for other reasons over here, you can go to the schedule tile, you can go to report jobs, you can go to create, and you can create a job here as well from this. So the first thing I will ask you is, what do you want to call it? So I'm going to call it our batch for to managers, and you can give it a description. Reports to all managers. Now, the next thing that we need to do is set a priority. Well, this we're going to keep as a low priority over here, and we're going to set the default language as English. Now, I'm going to follow the wizard and go onto our schedule. So how often do I want this to run? So I want it to run forever. I can run it once, specified number of times, or until a specific date. So what's the difference between them all? Well, run forever means it will keep going. Run once will mean it will run once and stop. Run a specific number of times means it will repeat as many times as you specify down the bottom here. Or run until a specific date. You can actually start the end date of when it's going to start and stop. The reason being, if you may be running a campaign and you want to be running this out to all the campaign manager heads, and you can say, right, our campaign starts here and it ends here. Again, just to keep things nice and simple, I'm just going to click it to run forever. And I want my first report to run on the 1st of November at 1 AM. Okay, so just going to keep it here. So it's going to run on the 1st of December, 1st of January, etc. here, and I want it to run every month. So again, nothing special at this point about scheduling. We then can say here about the target data, how much data do you want it to contain? So when it runs on the 1st of November, how much data do you want it to contain? So again, standard scheduling things, you could say, I want it to run every month with the last 3 months worth of data, or the last 6 months, whatever it may be. So we're just going to keep this nice and simple and say, right, every month I want it to send the last month's worth of data.
Yep.
So the difference being now is on option 5, there are 2 factors. You can run it as a normal job or as a batch job. So a normal job means that when you come into your parameters screen, so I'll show you the difference, and I come down here and I choose my directory items. When I select something over here, it will just say that's what I'm going to run a report on. Okay. Now, if I change it to batch mode, the way that behaves will completely change now. So I'm going to put this into batch mode, and it's now going to say, right, I'm going to now send an email to everybody what do you want the email to say? So we're going to start with the subject. So it's going to be the report name, and the date range is up here. And you can add things called tokens at the end here. So you can add in text, and then you can click on the three dots at the end and add these tokens in. So the batch item name is going to be the departmental level, cost center level, whatever it's going to be. That's going to be the name that you've selected in here.
And that will change to each of the recipients. So it makes it clearer for them what it's actually arrived in their inbox.
Yeah, and especially what you may have is you may be a manager of 3 or 4 cost centers. Okay, so you may get this report 3 or 4 times. So having this in here is quite an important thing, especially because otherwise you're just going to end up getting the report name 3, 4 times in your inbox and you're not going to know which one it's for.
Doesn't help filing anything, does it?
So just remember to keep that in there, and then just write a message. What is this? So this is, you say, your monthly full stats here, okay? And you can just put in here, maybe you want to put your internal help desk number, name, etc., so they know who to contact. So this is what the user is going to receive, okay? When I click on next now, the parameters still stay the same, so you get all of them the same parameters that you can apply if you want to. The difference being now is when you get to the directory items, it then says batch directory items rather than directory items, what it said before. So now when I come into this screen and I select items, I can come into here and I can say, right, I want accounts to receive their report. So I click accounts and it now says, right, who do you want to email it to? So I can say, right, I want that to go to accounts@tiger.io. Now I may want consulting, and I can say consultants@tiger.io. Hopefully you'll start to see where this is going. I can then add development. Now you'll see here that it automatically added in an email address. Now I'll show you how that works in a moment when we go and look. But if you've predefined an email address to a department in your directory structure, it knows that and it will automatically populate it for you. The only trouble is if you go and change it again on your directory structure, it doesn't go and update it automatically in your report. So just to keep that as a note, they are completely detached.
So shared mailboxes is kind of a better solution if you're going to do you're going to allocate it to a directory, really.
Yeah. But you can put people in, if you're going to set up 20 reports, it's probably quicker to go and put the email address in the directory, so you don't have to type it in here 20 times. There are swings and roundabouts.
I just mean sort of more generally, and I know we've done some directory sessions before and we will cover directory again, but I think, how often we see orphaned mailboxes where you're getting an undeliverable or, by using shared mailboxes, it generally retains an owner.
It will do, and it will get delivered as well for you. So when we've created these in here now, you'll see here now I've entered the 4 email addresses. So the accounts department will receive an email for just the accounts, department, nothing else, and it will go to that email address. Consulting will get their department and all the people underneath it. Development will get theirs, and service management will get theirs as well. So what I've now done is essentially created 4 reports under a single report. And again, you can add as many of these in as you like, And it could be that you need to drill in and go down and go, right, actually, I want to go down a level and choose a different department, etc., or just the user.
Yeah. I mean, if you've got a big contact center model, for example, you might have 18 leaders in that contact center. You might want each of the 8 of them receiving just for their team.
Yeah. So again, though, for managing the report is much easier because you've only got to come back into one.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to click OK to this. So these are the 4 it's going to go to. I'm going to create a success notification. So normally when you would set up this, the success notification is for, sending that report to somebody. In this instance, it's just to let you know that all of the reports have been sent out successfully. So it'll be the 4 reports have been sent successfully out. So you would put yourself or a person that needs to know that they've all gone out to in here. So I'm just going to add myself into here.
Might be the person who asked you to create the reports, for example.
Correct, yeah. It's just a success notification to say, yeah, great, that's where it's going to be. In the failure notifications, just to let someone know in the off chance something failed, it could be that, the mailbox no longer exists. There could have been, an SMTP outage and something didn't quite go right. It's just to let you know that, out of the batch of 200 reports, if there were any that failed individually, it's just to let you know that that's happened.
And this is probably more your Prism administrator that wants to receive that.
They just want to know what's going on at that point. In your delivery options, you can choose what format. Again, quite important. Do they want a PDF? Do they want it as an Excel asset? You can choose from this point here and the file name. So what they will get is the report name, date start, date end. And again, this is configurable by you. So you can then add in some extra tokens. And again, if you want to add in the department that attachment is for, just add it in at the end. And again, it has special character. You can type in any characters in here as well that you want to be added into those. Once you've completed that, click next. You can then check your report and you can then click submit and it will then go off and create your batch report. If you then need to come back in and then make any changes, you can come into your jobs, into your scheduler, your search, find the job. You'll be able to change your email template.
Just show us from the front screen, Matt, where do you go into it? Because obviously somebody's created the report, it might be 2 months later they get an error. How do they come back and find it?
So it's under the scheduled jobs here. It's under scheduled jobs. It will then be under your report jobs and search. And then you'll be able to see here your batch report to managers, which is the one that we created. And then you click on the burger button on the left and it will then bring up here. So if you want to make changes to the email that goes to users, it's under the batch options. If you need to change an email address to one of the people on the report, you simply go to the parameters pane. If you want to view them, you can view them by coming in here, but you can't make changes. If you try to make changes, you won't be able to do anything. You can view them. To make changes, you must click the edit button at the top right here. Then you can go into your batch reporting and then you can now make the changes to the email addresses. So just to make that clear, you must click the edit button if you want to make the changes. Once you make the changes, you click save at the top.
That's good though, right? Because it stops accidental errors.
Correct, yeah. It is purely on the fact to stop, people coming in here and clicking on it and go, oh,
yeah. What was in there? You might not remember.
No, so you just got to remember to, click the edit button to change anything on here. Okay.
So just a question on the batch reporting. So are all email domains permitted, or is there a specific place in the settings where we need to configure the allowed domains? So can you put any email address in?
Entirely up to your SMTP server. So if you're in our hosted environment, yes, all domains are acceptable. You can put them in.
You can send it to a Gmail account.
You can send it all of those. If it's in your own internal network or you're using an external SMTP server, it depends on how that's configured because the configuration is done at the SMTP level to say whether external domains are allowed. Yeah. So, for example, if you're using NHS mail, you may only ever be able to send it to an NHS email address. Yeah. Okay, anything other than that, it will get blocked. But that's not a Prism restriction, that's an SMTP restriction.
Yeah, I think that's, look, Prism can send to any.
Yeah, is the answer to that.
But you're right. I mean, we know we've got customers where they don't allow any external emails, and that's not uncommon. So I think it's, but you can speak to your infrastructure team if you need that change. They'll probably ask you to fill in an appropriate security form, I'd imagine, but it's certainly feasible.
Yeah. So just quickly, the final thing on this was, where did when I clicked on the option, where did the email address come from? So this will be on either your department cost center or your custom tree at the end here. in the departments, if you click on the department levels here, so if I go to development, because I know that was one entered, over on the organization part tab at the top right here, what you'll have is an email address, and that's where it collects it from the first time. But as I said, if I come in here now and I change this to something else, to be clear, it will not go and update your reports. You'd have to go and do the reports update again, okay? Right, so I think...
Thank you. And yeah, that was the only other question on it, Matt. So thank you. So let's change pace a little bit. Let's go and have a little look at Webex, I think.
Yeah, so not everyone on the call will have Webex, but we've obviously spent a lot of time. We've gone through, we've developed some new Webex integrations to go and collect your Webex calling data. So we have, some new dashboards, included things like, call queue dashboards that show you, how many calls are coming into your call queues, how many calls are being answered. So we've kept the same familiar style that we use within Prism, but now this is then collecting the Webex data to show you all this information. So we show dashboards, and we can show also here things like, how many queue attempts there were. And if you go in, like you can with all of our other dashboards, it will then show you the, it's start to end life of a call.
This is the cradle to grave, isn't it? It's the term we've heard lots of customers use. So yeah.
So we can show you all this information from the Webex side. So you've got your dashboards for your queues. You've got your first point of answer dashboard. So looking at how long did it take to go and speak to somebody within your business. Along with this, we have our reports. So we've also gone off, we've built a set of reports for this. Oh, let's get to the right one, sorry. I went to the wrong screen. So we've got the reports here, including those zero usage endpoints, which is quite, something that's quite useful for you as when you're rolling this out is in 6 months' time, running the zero usage of how many people are not using their Webex.
Yeah, Webex has a cost, right? I mean, you've got the license cost to have Webex, which obviously we're on today, but then there's an add-on, right, to be able to make phone calls as well. Yeah. So it's a money-saving opportunity as much as anything else.
Yeah. So, and again, with all of them, we have the analytics side of it. I've gone into the wrong one again. The Webex analytics. So you've got your Webex calls, your Webex legs, the same as you would have if you went into any others, to show you all the individual parts of your Webex calls, and obviously the Webex queues as well.
So a question, Matt, are these Webex video to video calls or only Webex to Webex voice only calls? I kind of understand the question. I think we need to define what is it we're pulling in, because obviously with Teams we get all session data, we get everything. Yeah. Are we doing that with Webex?
It's Webex calling data. So if you're on a calling plan with Webex, we will collect any data around that as well. So yes, we do get the internal parts as long as it's part of a Webex calling.
And the person has to have a Webex calling license assigned to them, is what we're saying. Yeah.
So it's a Webex calling is what.
Yeah. So whether it's video or voice, as long as they are using that Webex calling license,
you will see that information. Yes.
All right, thank you. And look, whilst we're not going to do a massive demo on Zoom in here, the Zoom tile's there as well, and I think it goes back to what I said. Where Tiger with Prism, we're trying to be as agnostic to what the technology is. We can deliver data for all of these services, these cloud provider services as they are now, unlike telephony where you've got a physical switch. And you can see it in one place. We're not going to get into it today, but it also means that you can sort of build a view on a user in one place to kind of go, right, they've got all these things, they're using 2 of them, they're not using 1 of them. It's we'll perhaps look to do that in our Beyond the Basics in January. That might be an interesting thing to add.
The other big thing here around it, just to keep it in mind as well, is that with Webex, with Zoom, etc., and with Teams as well, and this is the same. There is a limitation with your cloud providers of how much data you can store. With Prism, the storage limitation is basically upon two factors: hard disk space and the date range that we started from. So that's a key thing here as well to keep in mind as well with integrating with these third-party apps.
Yeah, and we offer, if we're hosting for you, we will hold the data for actually as long as you want. Clearly there's different pricing plans for how long you want us to hold the data, but yeah, we're holding the data for 6-7 years for some of our customers because that's what they require. Most customers tend to say, I just want 2 years of data, but you know what? There is no limit really. We could hold it for 20 years if that's what you want. Okay, thank you. All right, let's go and look at some of the new Teams features then, shall we? Well, we're on cloud services. It's a nice link on.
So anybody that's been upgraded recently to one of our newer releases, the 2501 and above, this is applicable to all of the dashboards, what I'm about to show you now, but I'm going to quickly show you on the Teams call queues. On the left-hand side, previously in this window, you couldn't sort on these options. So you've now made these sortable so that you can go and sort by who is the one not picking up the most amount of calls or who is picking up the most amount of calls. Okay, so we've made these windows sortable. We've also created on the call queue dashboard specifically, and any others where there's itemized calls. And again, this is not specific to Teams, this is specific to dashboards. You'll now notice there is a burger button on the end of each of the calls. And what this allows you to do now is from the dashboard, click through and go and look at what happened on that particular call. It'll give you then all of the detail about what was going on,
who was involved in it,
etc. Now, this is the same for telephony. So if you're using one of the Hunt Group ones, it's the same thing as well on there. So although I've said about Teams, actually the sorting options on the left is available on all dashboards, and the click-through is now available on all dashboards as well.
And I think, well, Matt said, if you're on one of the later versions, all of our hosted customers are on this version. So if we're hosting for you and you're a Teams customer, you have this.
Yeah. And what we've also added in is on the queue dashboard is how many agent attempts. So if your queues are configured to not be blast ones where we won't be able to count how many times it tried, you can see here how many agent attempts, how many times did it attempt an agent before it was answered.
This is how many hops.
Yeah, how many
times was it transferred? And I mean, I'm conscious you can set a 5 second, it rings on someone up to a minute.
Yeah.
So, it's a good, I suppose it's a good way of identifying, do you need to change your queue settings in the admin center to actually say we want it to ring with an agent for a little bit longer?
Yeah, and again, it's just showing you here. And then if you need to go and find out who were the 11 agents were that you tried, you've now got the click through. It's nice and simple. You'll be able to see it. Now, to be clear on this, the click through is only available for admins. Okay, so if you restricted their users, unfortunately, they won't be able to click through. This is for an admin part. Reason being is security, that when you get to these parts here, there are potentially parts in here you would not want an end user to see and be able to go and get access to. But for admins, it's really quick and easy now to go and find those calls, bring up the details, etc.
And look, if there are specific things, again, they could do an analytics query looking for all legs associated with a call. So if they meant to have access to the data, they can go and find it, even though they can't do the click through. So
right. So we made the changes for the dashboards. We also added 4 new reports into Teams for you. So I'm going to start from the bottom and go up. 0 usage call queues. So simply what you do is you set the date range for over a set period of time, and you generate the report, and it will list any queues that haven't been used in that date period. Okay, so what you can then do is go and talk to the people that own the queues to go, do you really need it? Are they, because they're not being used? Is it because they've advertised on the website the wrong phone number? May sound really stupid, but this actually did happen. They were going, well,
Why is no one
why
phoning
is
up
no
you?
one fine? And it got there, and there was an extra digit on the website, so nobody could actually get through to it. Okay, so there's really simple things it could be, but you know,
And again, queues need a license. They need a Microsoft license.
Yeah.
So you know, you might be over licensed.
so again, really quick, simple. Which queues haven't been used? Okay, so we've made that simple. You go and run it, clean up all your queues. We're going to do the call queue summary report next. So the call queue summary report is a really good report for, you know, how many calls come into our queue, how many were answered. So you set your date as you do before, and you then come into here and you choose your queues from the item list here. So let's go and choose our sales and our support queue here as an example. So you can choose multiple ones, sorry. You just tick the boxes on the left. You've got a filter here. So the filters across all columns, or you can do an individual column filter here if you want to.
And that's just going to bring up everything in your organization that's got the call queue flag against it, basically.
Yeah, correct. There's nothing else in there. We'll only ever return call queues. And you can set your SLA here. So if your SLA is 20 seconds, this is what you can put down the bottom here.
And I think, you know, we've got to be careful because this isn't auto attendance we're talking
No,
about. And I know there can be some confusion sometimes.
Yeah, so this is just call queue information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink this pane on the left here, and I'm going to shrink the right, sorry, and over on the left. Just zoom in a little bit so you can see. So we've selected two queues. So it'll tell us how many calls during that period went to our queue, how many of them were answered, the average wait and the longest wait, and then the average talk time. For the unanswered section, how many of those calls were not answered, the percentage of them, the average wait. Then using our SLAs, how many of them were answered less than 20 seconds, so fell outside our thing, how many were actually valid and fell inside our thing. How many of them were abandoned, how many of them went to voicemail, and overflowed out. What does this mean? So how many of them overflowed to another queue? So if you've got a sales scenario where a call comes in to your call queue, and if it's not answered, it goes somewhere else. That's what we call an overflow out. So it came into my queue, it wasn't answered by any of my agents, so it's gone overflowed out. So in a call center scenario kind of thing, it could be it came into your branch, nobody answered it, so it went on to the contact center. So it overflowed out. So what we're saying is, okay, it didn't get answered at our point in our queue, but it may have got answered somewhere else down the line. Okay, so that's a really nice thing to send to, you know, your department heads about your call queues. Now, it could be that they want a little bit more detail. So we can come into the call queue summary with detail, and I'm going to do the exact same thing again. I'm going to choose the 1st of October. I'm going to come down to my call queues. I'm going to select the exact same call queues again. So sales and support.
And whilst there is no limit to how many you can put in here,
yeah,
obviously the more you put them, the more difficult it's going to be to read.
Yeah, because you're going to end up with lots on there, but you know, I think comfortably you could probably have 20 queues on there. It'd be quite. And again, you may then export it to Excel, and you may then build nice graphs. And you know, if you're presenting a pack back to the business to go, look, you know, we built these queues. This is the improvement we're doing. Because it may be 6 months ago you've had Tiger installed. You've looked at it and you've gone, wow, we're losing 90% of our calls.
Yeah.
Well, this is not good. And you know, you've gone into those departments. You've gone and really worked hard. And you've run it for October and you've gone, look, we're down to 10%. Yeah. You want to be showing this graph to your managers to go, look.
And look, if you're in the fortunate position that you've got an MI team that might produce that sort of thing for you, you can schedule this and send them the report.
Absolutely. And again, it could be as well that we have it in certain environments that this gets sent to the managers of the queues every day. And it's sort of a, you know, fun game of, well, I asked more calls than you last week, etc. So it is, you know, it is important that the information is given to the staff members that they can get this. So with the detail one, you actually get who picked up the calls within the queue. So you get the queue, you get a single line for the queue, and then which agents picked it up.
Bit of competitiveness, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Over here, you know,
And that's doing 1 page per queue.
1 page per queue. It's designed in that way. It could be multiple pages per queue if you've got
enough pages to spill over. Yeah,
but
yeah.
We've seen, most of the time it fits on 1 page.
There's room for about 20 agents there, I guess.
So as long as you haven't got more than 20 agents answering the call, it will fit on 1 page nicely. And again, great to export it to maybe as a PowerPoint to go, right, look, this is what it looked like today. This is what it looked like 6 months ago. Look, we're using this data to help us improve the experience for our customers.
All right. And last one, we're going to talk about in reports.
So this one here is the departmental session activity. So what we did is we had many customers ask about, when you talk about teams, you've got PSTN data and you've got session data. What they wanted to do is use the session data to try and get information out to their staff members. Now, what we've done is we've built a report that using feedback from lots of people to show the most amount of information that's useful to the staff members. So I'm going to choose service management. I'm going to choose level 2 to give me a total at the top, and then level 3 to then bring down all of my users in that department. And I'm going to run this from the 1st of October, and I'm going to click generate to get that information out. So what it's going to do is it's going to now show me, I'm just going to shrink the right-hand side and zoom in a little bit just to make it easier. It now gives me a total for my department. So how many calls went into the service management that were answered via a queue and how long we were talking for. And then it breaks it down to which people within service management were answering calls off of queues. It then looks at these 4 sections here, peer-to-peer. So peer-to-peer is teams to teams, basically. Now, teams to teams doesn't mean me calling Richard. It could be me calling a customer on Teams somewhere else, okay? So what we have is we've broken that down into 4 sections. You've got peer-to-peer where I'm the callee, so I'd get a call from me. So if I ring Richard, it will be me as a callee and my time on the call. And then you'd have Richard in the caller, and you'll have him picking up the call and his talk time on here, okay? And again, you get the same again on the peer-to-peer as you as the callee, and the external person being the caller, or whether it's vice versa, okay? So this is looking at, stats on, if I'm picking up calls from external people here, and I get the talk time here, or is it that I'm ringing lots of people on Teams, okay? So you've got that breakdown. We've then got 2 very important stats here, especially if you're running sales teams, and I'll explain why. Group calls where this contains either one person that is a meeting or more, or where a call contains more than 2 people. And they are all internal staff. So how many group calls were made where everybody on the call was just internal? The reason this is quite important compared to the external one is if you're running a sales team, there's no way you could be selling anything to anybody if you're just talking to people internally, because there's no one to sign checks inside the business that, you want to be talking to external people. But also, how many of your staff members are engaging with your external customers in meetings, etc. So you've got the ones that just are all internal, and group calls where they're external people, and then the totals at the end here. Okay, so really useful to send to managers to give them, a broad breakdown, overview of what, how are they spending their times on Teams? Okay, how is that really looking for people?
All right, Matt, I'm just conscious of time.
Yeah.
We've got a quick update on analytics as well for Teams queues.
Yeah.
You want to just jump into that and show us that quickly, and then we'll do some snippets for 2026. But we may overrun a little by a few minutes today. For those that want to stay on, apologies for the overrun, but we will carry on through to the end. And if you've got any more questions, drop them in, and we'll make sure they're covered for you today as well.
It's just really to show that there is what we showed on the dashboards, etc. There is an analytics Teams queues here that you go through, and gives you all the information. You can filter on queues, you can schedule it. So if you are looking to send this stuff to BI teams to build your own, dashboards, etc. This is where you would get it from. So all your queue stats come from this one here, then you would just schedule it and it will then export it out to wherever you need it to go. So,
and what would we be looking for in there, Matt?
So it'd be really looking at which agents picked up the calls, were they overflowed, did they go to voicemail, were they answered or not in here. You can add in as well if you want. We looked at this a moment ago, the agent attempts. So it could be that you want to know before Amy picked up the call, how many people did it try? Okay.
Can you bring a transfer field in as well?
You can. So
because it might be you've got concerns that somebody is just transferring every call off, for example.
Yeah. So what this does is it shows if the call was answered, who did it get transferred to? So once it was answered, let me see if I can find one this month. Who did it get transferred to? So it's quite a useful stat. So here, so this call was picked up in the queue. It was picked up by Rob or Abda at the bottom here, and then it was transferred to this person here. So again, really useful stat for you to know, it was picked up by this agent and then moved on to somebody else.
And look, often it's a customer misrouting, right? They've chosen the wrong option. They wanted somebody else, but it just, look, I think we've talked about transfer today. I thought it's worth noting it can be included.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this stuff can be then, passed on to your teams to deal with that.
Okay. Thank you. Right, let's do a quick look ahead to 2026 and some of the things we're doing, and then we will move to close.
Okay, so I'm just going to, hopefully this loads up. So what I'm going to try and do is show you a live demo. It's going to load.
I will be clear, this is our pre-production system we're in here. So some of these things we're going to show you are currently in test. We're going to talk about, while we're waiting for that to load, should we talk about the things that aren't yet in test?
So we are, obviously for anybody that joined our webinar the other week, we are releasing a new product called Lens to do our Microsoft 365 licensing. So that's something coming along in the pipeline. We are looking at the moment.
And just with Lens, we are looking at options whether we can further integrate that into Prism. At the moment, they're two separate products. Let's be clear, because I know we've been asked the questions why I mention it.
Yeah.
And they're going to remain as two separate products is the plan. But, if there's enough demand, we might look at it.
So we are going to be looking at quick searches. So adding an option within Prism that allows you to quickly search for something. So
this is going to be a box at the top.
Yeah, box at the top. We're not entirely sure where it's going to go, but I want to search for Matt's calls, and that's what we'd put in is Matt's calls, and it would then bring.
So it would find your Teams calls, your physical calls. It would just, if you're a Zoom user, Webex, it would just one page
of all of your information on. So we're looking at simplifying the way that you get data out of Prism.
Yeah, and I know we're looking at MS Teams call queues as well, and can we show agents? Can we show any live information about those agents?
So what we're doing is we are looking at some stats to see agent stats within queues, queuing calls, etc. So we are investigating that part of it as well.
I think we need to be clear. This isn't a contact center solution. This is some of the information is available, and we're investigating what we can provide you as an add-on to Prism to help, because we know a lot of our customers have now moved to Microsoft call queues in Teams.
Yeah.
And, but just let's be clear, it's not a contact center solution we're proposing.
Yeah. So I'll quickly show you one of the new features that's coming in 2026, just so you get an idea. So one of the things we've added is the ability now to actually quickly switch between dashboards and reports, etc. So we've added these quick links, which allow you now to switch between the different areas within Prism as well, making it nice and simple rather than having to go back to the home screen and click on that option. We've added them here as well, so you can now quickly flip, and that's available on all the screens, so you can flip between the two.
Yeah.
We've also added something which we've been asked about for many years now, is the ability to pivot data within analytics. So what we've added is the ability now that you've got, same way as you had before, the ability to sum, but you'll now notice that these are different colors, and you can then add the ability to retrieve these as columns. Okay, so what I'm going to quickly do is just remove all of these columns to show you how it works. I'm going to add in a bin over here. And if I run that for today, what I'm going to end up with here is loads and loads of data, 111 rows. If I now change this and retrieve these as columns, what it will now do is break it down by hour, how many incoming, outgoing, internal, and tandem calls I've got in one screen. Okay, so we've done this for about 400 columns roughly. So there are plenty of things available in here. And again, if you then want to add in users, etc., you can do as well. So just a real brief overview of how that works. It's not just for telephony, we've done it for Webex, Zoom, and Teams as well.
And this is a feature that in early 2026, probably Q1, will come to all of our hosted customers. We intend on delivering this release to all hosted customers. So if you are hosted, this will be coming to you.
Yeah, and it's, as I said, it's there. And if you have any questions around it, then obviously, fire them our way and we will be happy to answer them.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Okay, look, that's going to take us to close. As I've said in the chat, when you exit the webinar, when you leave the webinar in a minute, you will get a survey page through. Please do leave us your feedback, but more importantly, tell us what you want to see in the next Ask the Experts. We're doing Beyond the Basics Part 2 in January next year. You can register for that now as well. That we will probably do some more on that analytics space actually as part of that.
Yeah.
But if there's specific things that you're struggling with that you want to see, January's not so far off now. Put it in there. We'll cover it for the wider audience. If there's things that you want to know specifically, get in touch with our customer success team. Get in touch with me and Matt. You've got our details. We will help you with whatever your challenges are and you're trying to get through. Thank you very much, everyone, for taking the time to join us today. I hope you've enjoyed today's webinar. These will carry on, another 4 next year, and we please do let us know what you want to see in them.
Yeah, appreciate everyone's time today. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you.
Bye.